During the 2021 Israeli incursion on the Gaza Strip, Israel bombed the media office building, which was home to the Associated Press offices and the Al Jazeera offices in Gaza. As you can probably guess by now, Israel claimed that these offices had Hamas military assets and that Hamas were using them as human shields. That was their justification behind bombing these offices. And they provided no evidence for these claims. This incident also shows for how long Israel has been attempting to put pressure on journalists that are reporting from inside Gaza. The current conflict in Gaza has seen Gaza's journalists put forth monumental effort to record and transmit and show all of us in the West what is happening on the ground. And these reports, as we have all seen, have significantly shifted public opinion. And speaking of journalists, for the safety of journalists, this is the deadliest war that has ever been recorded. I'm going to give you some stats so that you may understand the scale of what we are discussing here. In 2022, according to the CPJ, the Committee for the Protection of Journalists, 67 journalists were killed in the entire world in that year, 2022. That number has been surpassed in Gaza alone, just within 2 months. 109 journalists inside of Gaza have been brutally murdered. And we saw just yesterday, in a precision attack on his car, Israel killed Hamza, the son of 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐢𝐻𝐿, a Palestinian journalist working on the ground. And it's very sad to say that Hamza is not the only family member of Wa'il that has been killed by the Israelis. In a strike on the Nusayrat refugee camp in late October, one strike killed Wa'il's son, daughter, and his wife. We must mention here that the strike that actually ended up killing Wa'il's son, Hamza, was actually a strike on a car full of journalists. Another journalist passed away from the strike, Mustafa Thuraya. The disturbing images of his mother walking with his body have been published by Al Jazeera. And many people are going to find this shocking. The official Israeli spokesperson for the October the 7th war, Eylon Levy, tweeted shortly after this that Israel is killing journalists that are affiliated with Hamas. And this is similar to the excuse that the Israelis offered for bombing the media building in Gaza that we mentioned in the beginning of this video. Even if this was true, which I must say it is not, because Hamza was working with Al Jazeera, journalists are supposed to be protected under international law. The International Committee of the Red Cross states the following: the illegality of attacks on journalists and news media derives from the protection granted to civilians and civilian objects under international humanitarian law, and from the fact that the media, even when used for propaganda purposes, cannot be considered as military objectives except in special cases. In other words, while no specific status exists for journalists and the equipment they use, both journalists and their equipment benefit from the general protection enjoyed by civilians and civilian objects unless they make an effective contribution to military action. So these excuses exist to serve a framework that we have seen. Essentially, anyone who's killed in the Gaza Strip, it seems, whether it be a doctor, a journalist, anyone, any civilian, even a civilian, Hamas affiliated, they are linked to Hamas, they are Hamas, they are human shields, they were being used as human shields. There is always a Hamas justification for killing people in Gaza, as it seems. This dehumanizing language might satisfy propaganda's requirements, but behind it are real-life human beings who are hurt when they lose their family members. In an emotional statement, Wa'il said about his son Hamza that he was not a part of him, he was him. And swiftly, Wa'il returned to the air, reporting for Al Jazeera. He was vowed to continue reporting despite everything that is happening. That is the responsibility that he believes is on his shoulders. The clip we're about to play you is a clip in the Arabic language. But even if you do not understand it, you can see what he is saying just by the emotions behind his words.
أبدأ معك وائل. طبعا عظم الله أجرك وصبرك الله. ما هي آخر التطورات في غزة؟
بارك الله فيكم، شكر الله سعيكم، ربنا سبحانه وتعالى يتقبل ويربط على القلوب.
In a visit to Qatar, the American Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, was questioned about the killing of Hamza al-Dahdouh. He said the following:
Far too many innocent Palestinian men, women, and children. Civilians, also journalists, Palestinian and others. The Committee to Protect Journalists has found that now some 70 journalists have been killed in Gaza. One is far too many.
We must mention here that the bombs that are being used to kill these journalists are actually coming from the United States of America. And Blinken, in an October visit to Qatar, asked them to rein in Al Jazeera's reporting on what was taking place in Gaza. I wonder why. Gaza then is proving a crucible moment for all the norms of international liberalism. The assault on Gaza has raised questions regarding the integrity of international law, and rightfully so. It has actually raised questions regarding the integrity of these international institutions that we have made mention of, the ICJ, the ICC, the UN, and other organizations. These organizations are relied upon to provide justice for what happens in the world. Are they doing their job? And we must mention here that the recent events have also brought to the foreground a crucial question regarding the freedoms and the security for journalists working in Gaza. Undoubtedly, many will see the killing of these journalists as an attempt by the Israeli Zionist state to censor what is actually happening on the ground on the Gaza Strip. If you like our work and you're a fan of all of the news reporting that we are doing, do us a favor. Click the subscribe button down below and share our channel with your friends and family.